the one thing that agents don't tend to talk about. It's the one we're used to talking about the business challenges, right? Growing a business, and we're talking about all the things that it's, quote, normal to talk about if you're a business owner. So for a lettings agent or for an estate agent, it's normally about how do I get more listings? How do I get more properties listed for sale? How do I have more properties listed for rent? How do I have more landlords as ongoing business customers? Yeah.
Even the internal stuff, like talking about staff and motivation.
Yeah, people tend to think that it must be the same for any other business. Yeah, but actually there's certain tendencies that letting agents have, that typical letting agents, so obviously we're talking stereotypes, generalisations, but as with any sort of cliche, the generalisation is generally true.
I've noticed certainly that letting agents fall into a certain category of type of person, John.
They do, Christopher. And that can be both an advantage and a disadvantage depending on the context.
Because you certainly need certain skills as a letting agent to be a good letting agent, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And the harder you have to work at those skills, the harder it is for you to, let's say, deploy those skills effectively. So what happens is people tend to do things to which they are naturally attuned. Yeah? And you think about letting agents, we both know they tend to have certain characteristics.
Certainly do.
Of one of which I think is reasonably well known, reasonably well accepted, is their attention to detail.
You have to be in the game.
Right.
You so have to be.
Yeah, because if you don't pay attention to the contract, you will lose money. If you don't pay attention to how you vet the tenant, the property gets trashed. If you don't pay attention to legislation, you might be non-compliant.
You potentially going to prison.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's all these things to pay attention to. So the letting agent game tends to appeal to people with an eye for detail. Now that's great when you're looking at competency. But this is all staying within the logical arena, which is where business tends to be conducted. But when we go into the emotional arena, when we go below the surface, then we find that attention to detail can be a stress magnifier, right? So that means that the typical letting agent is someone who beats themselves up, probably at quite frequent intervals, and I'm talking by the minute rather than by the day or by the week, for not achieving perfection.
They are so perfectionist, it's unbelievable, John.
Right.
They really are.
So
why do you think that is?
Well, it's the type of person. So the compliant personality. So if you go to disc profiling, the model in front of us here,
okay.
The C profile tends to be more reserved, going in this direction. Now this is what we say task focused, but the D is a big picture focus. This is a detail focus.
Maybe you could tell the guys at home what is it appropriate to talk about this disc profile now, and then why?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, I mean this is a well-known profiling system. I think Thomas International, the guys that originally had it, people have copied it. The people talk about the eagle, the peacock, the dove, and the owl is one way that some people talk about the colours. A red personality, a yellow personality, but actually it's all the same model, which is disc, dominant, influential, steady, compliant, or conscientious.
Because my understanding is that you've got the two axes, and one axis is more task orientated on this axis here, and this is more people orientated.
Yeah, so people is this side, task is that side.
So these two are task orientated,
yes,
and these two are people orientated. Yes. So that's one axis. What's the other axis, John?
Well, it's a number of things actually, but it can be to do with speed. So your C's and S's tend to be slower, and your D's and I's tend to be faster. So it can be seen as patience. So not, impatient up here, patient here.
Yes.
Would be one. So the fast and slow, and obviously that helps when you're trying to understand different people. While somebody might get it fast, just because someone doesn't get it yet doesn't mean they're less intelligent. It means they need time to assimilate the information.
Because I always thought above the line that was more people that were more outgoing. and more below the line, probably a little bit more reserved, or because
Yeah, I put the arrows on here. So outgoing is more diagonal. It's more this way.
I'm with you.
So that the high eyes is the peacock, the party animal. Yeah, there are plenty of outgoing Ds though.
Yes.
The dominant personality. Yeah, so it's almost like a going line where the S's are people, but they're quieter. So the I will tend to be talkative, and the S will tend to listen. And obviously that's a a graduated scale. So talkative at the top, quiet at the bottom. Yeah, but over here, because this is obviously a people scale, on the task scale, this is a get the task done profile. This is a analyze the task, and obviously the blend between analysing and doing changes as your profile changes.
So, where do most letting agents fall in this tent?
Well, where do you think, Christopher?
Well, I would say most letting agents tend to be more, because it's all about getting the job done.
Yeah.
They have to be they're more task orientated as
Yes.
opposed to people orientated.
Yeah.
And because they're more analytical,
Yes.
because you have to be as a letting agent,
Yeah.
so task orientated means
Yeah.
that they're on this side.
Absolutely right.
And then if they're more analytical, it means that they're going to be more towards around here. So
You've got
my intuition tells me that most letting agents fall into this category here, which is the C category.
Yeah.
Whilst most estate agents tend, especially bosses,
Yeah.
tend to fall into more that category.
Yeah.
Interesting, don't you think?
Yes, it is. So on the estate agency side, more the DI would be the classic. So the estate agent would be anywhere around here.
I'd say more bosses here and more valuers.
Okay, but if you think about how most agents started, without this, they're not going to be out there talking to the people.
True.
Your MDs would tend, the stereotype MD is the high D.
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of natural agents who are naturally people will adapt
You
to
have
being
to.
the high D to save time and to keep people focused.
This rings so many bells with me. I'm here,
Yes.
but I've had to go in here to be
Yes.
a business person.
Yes.
Otherwise, you just fluffing
But
around.
we never see this come out, do we, Chris?
No.
Of course not.
Oh,
Right.
okay. So come on then. So if all the next
So you're adapting to
Have-
suit your environment.
yes,
And that's what, as adults, that's what we tend to
change, but we
Yeah.
don't like change, do we?
do. No.
So what does this mean then?
So what it means, well, there's a couple of things, many things I could argue, but if we are a compliant personality and we recognise that we're detail-oriented, that we're perfectionists, we need time to make our decisions. With a compliant personality, we will never have enough information to make the right decision. So unfortunately, what that gives to is typically we tend to dither.
Hmm?
Yeah, so a decision that a D would make like this, a C will agonise over, they will lose sleep over it, they will pore over it for hours, and actually they'll come up with no more accurate answer probably than the D.
But they're just worried about it.
But they just worry about it. So I think that the real judgment call is, because the joke of course is if you've got a C on the team, they'll tell you something once, yeah? Then when you've ignored them and you've fallen on your face, you'll hear this little voice go, I told you so.
That's my wife.
Whoops.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
so true. My wife's a C.
Yeah,
If she tells you once,
that's it.
That's
right?
it.
She's told you. Yeah, and she'll be right, unfortunately.
well, they always are, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
So these attributes of C's,
Yeah,
which makes them good letting agents,
yeah.
do you think they could also hold them back as letting agents?
Oh, definitely. So we've talked about this desire to be right, yeah, and they are right, by
And
the way.
accurate.
Yes. So that reinforces the perfectionist tendency because I'm right.
And I've got the facts and figures to back it up with.
Yeah. What they're not accounting for though is the emotional cost that they're paying and also the business cost. So what business cost? They're paying a business cost because everything has to be channeled through them.
Yes. Oh, yes. Everything. Nobody could do the job better than them.
Right. So it all goes to them. They've got their hands so firmly on the wheel, you'd need to chisel them off. Yeah. Rather than actually, you know what? I don't need to drive the car. You know, it's a bit like...
But no one will drive the car better than me, or no one will check the contract as good as me.
My question would be, will it get to the destination?
More often than not, no. Most letting agents are treading water.
Well, that's the question. So then the question is are they treading water because of what they're doing, or because of what they're not doing?
Probably both.
Right, and then the question is there a relative lack of flexibility here holding them back?
I would say yes.
Yes, it's definitely yes. All right, we don't like to acknowledge our own faults and how they hold us back, but if we want to move forward, we say awareness is the first step. Right, so the point is to understand when in business life do my strengths take me in the right direction. So my strengths as a letting agent, if I'm a detail person, it's likely that my analytical brain will keep me safe. I'm the guy that saw the leaves moving in the bush, and I knew there was a saber-toothed tiger there when no one else was paying any attention. I didn't get eaten, right? But there isn't that sort of thing in Grantham. I certainly haven't seen any in Welland Garden City in the last...
Tell me what, you haven't been down on a Friday night.
Is that right? That's when they come out. Okay, be careful if you go to Grantham on a Friday night. But the point is then, we're wired for this danger that...
Yeah, because we've still got caveman brains, haven't we?
Yeah. Now, the real danger to a business is a financial danger. Or you might be about to lose a landlord, or a competitor's tapping people up, or this contract hasn't been done. Those kind of things. But this is why we talk about the systems and the processes to make sure those details get attended to.
Yes.
And one of my mantras that I share with all the clients is really simple. Be tough on the process, but be kind to the people. Be tough on the process, be kind to the people. So if you're the perfectionist boss, you will very easily be able to see and find what's wrong with every single person in your business. My argument would be, let that go. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, let it go. Because you can't change those people. What you can do is you can give them the tools for them to be successful, and therefore for you to be more successful. And that's where your systems and your processes come in. And creating the environment, the culture that allows those people to thrive. Because, it doesn't really matter. People thrive on are they A players or B players. It's all about attitude, really. If you've got the right attitude in your people, you don't need a team of rocket scientists.
No, because you can teach skills.
Yeah, you can. So your average human being, in the right environment, will be capable of amazing performance. But most of us actually end up shutting people down rather than sort of turning them off.
Do you think that perfectionism on doing everything right could actually be smothering the team?
It very often does. Because if I'm any of these other profiles, nothing I do is actually good enough for a C boss.
And we all want approval from originally from our parents,
Yeah.
then from our friends, and
Yeah.
our basically our bosses are...
Yeah. Boss is surrogate parent.
Yes.
Yeah, for want of a better word.
So, what
No,
practical
I'm
things...
not saying that's the right relation,
No. So you have obviously dealt with an awful lot of letting agents and estate agents over the years, because you do train them, you coach them, and you guide them. What things can people do to mitigate these issues, to enable them to break out?
Yeah, so I think the first one is to understand where your own red lines are. In other words, what are the things that I absolutely must keep control of? And one of the recent conversations I've had with clients is about these email scams that are going on. They're very, very widespread, lost businesses, millions and millions of pounds. It's not covered in the press very often, but it's a really simple one where your emails get spoofed. Someone on your financial team gets an email late in the day when they're tired, telling them seemingly quite coherently and relevantly to your business, because why is it relevant? Well, they've been reading your emails for the past however long, and they get this very plausible email telling them that you want them to wire money to this account to allow this business, if it's a letting agent, a property transaction to take place. And they go, oh yes, Mr. Business Owner, get to it right away. And before you know where you've gone, they've wired several £1,000s of your money to someone else and it disappears. And the problem with all this is, from the bank's perspective, this is a legitimate transaction. You willingly transferred money from your account to somebody else's. It's nothing to do with them. And you end up with the egg on your face and several £1,000s lighter. So one of the key processes that every business must have is a protocol that says no money is to be transferred to any bank account without a telephone check to me, the business owner, in person, so you recognise it's my voice and we have this. I mean, better is you only do the transactions yourself. But in some big businesses, we have to have the processes that allow us to trust other people to handle stuff on our behalf. And I know people have been taken for a lot of money by these scams because they hadn't anticipated they would need systems and procedures to guard against that kind of fraud.
Okay.
Yeah? So that's an example where attention to detail would literally save your business life.
But probably the C's already do that though, don't they?
You'd be surprised.
So what are they in control of then? Because you think the ultimate control is the pound notes.
Yeah.
Are they in control of things that
No,
probably don't matter?
Typically they are in charge of that. But they'll also be in charge of the pencils.
Very important, John.
Yeah. In fact, I've just shown you.
Yeah, go for it.
You've seen it, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, they're in charge of the pencils.
Wow.
Right?
Look, I tell you what, you've even got black masking tape on it and everything.
So, if you've had a student doing architecture, they might have just had to use a few pencils, right, despite the CAD system. But I think that'll probably go down the charity shop or somewhere.
Okay.
But what you don't want is your business owner counting pencils and toilet roll and all. You know what? Does it really matter? Is this a great use of your time?
Well, I mean, when it comes to letting agents, they're very good at they're wanting to check every single contract, getting involved with tenancy disputes.
Well, let's talk about contracts.
Yeah.
Let's talk about contracts. So, as a letting agent, you will know exactly the number of checks that need to be made on any contract. So you could probably write down on one sheet of paper in just a few minutes exactly what checks need to be made on each contract. And if you're really smart, you'll do it as a template that actually fits over the paper, which says, has it got the tenant's name correct? Is their postcode, dreadlock, all that sort of stuff? Have you got the referencing done? Have you had a deposit? They've signed for the inventory? Whatever it is they've got to do. So then, almost at a glance, a human can check the contract and know that all the boxes are ticked. Quite literally, because they've all been completed. Therefore, it's okay to issue this contract.
Yeah.
The business owner himself or herself does not have to review every single document. Yeah, they've probably got the person who's doing it's got to sign that they've done it. Probably.
Yes.
But
accountability.
You've given them a process. It's not being idiot-proof, but it's being foolproof. The Japanese have this system called poka-yoke.
Go on.
And the idea is that we're humans, we make mistakes. So how do we help the person do the operation right every time and actually make it so it's impossible to do it wrong? Now when you're making something, that's actually quite easy. In a service environment, it's much harder.
What, almost like systemization, like our mutual friend John Paul says?
Yeah, it is. So for example, let's say we were making shoes and I had to make sure that every shoe had a pair of laces with it. Right? So I might have a way to if I'm going to package the shoe, there might be a procedure. You might have to tie the laces into a bow.
Yes.
Before you. Well, of course, I can't tie the laces into a bow if the laces aren't there.
Correct.
Right. So if I'm the bower.
Yes.
I've got a problem if there's no laces. So it can't get past me.
That's right.
Because I can't do my operation if it's not right. So it's a way of making sure that you capture every error, because errors are going to be made, but you capture them at source.
Okay, what about more fluid things where there might be a dispute over a deposit where a landlord is saying you trashed my house and the tenant is saying no I haven't?
Yeah.
And we're talking probably £1,000 difference.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of letting agent bosses tend to really get sucked into that, and you can waste hours of your life there.
Well, you know that I've been a serial guarantor, right? 3 children, 3 different universities. I've done that 9 times, and I've been shocked at the behaviour of a whole number of different letting agents. But hey, that's another story. But let's deal with the deposit one because that comes up quite a lot. And sometimes I'm reminded of my famous quote from Sun Tzu, yeah, The Art of War. The supreme act of war is to subdue your enemy without fighting. Right? Now, if I wanted to fight the war, I'd have a bulletproof deposit contract and I'd be able to show that they were wrong, but I'd still have to fight the bloody war.
Yes.
A more intelligent approach is to go, well, actually, what if I just didn't want to have to fight in the first place? What would I then have to do? Well, how about if you had to educate your tenant on what they had to do to get their deposit back? Then you wouldn't have to fight the war. And I worked this out with another client who said, you know, we're doing all this great stuff, but our tenants don't like us. I said, oh, well, if you think about all the reasons why on your reviews and things, what is it? And they said, well, it's deposits. I said, well, yeah, because all your tenants are young people. Well, they don't know about contracts. They're just ordinary people. They're not experts. They're tenants, right? So you're treating them as a property industry professional, which they aren't. Mm-hmm. They're falling foul of fulfilling their own obligations, right? So they're getting hammered, but because they're not a professional, they don't know that until they get hammered. Mm-hmm. So what they end up with is a nasty shock, mm-hmm. right? And then, of course, because they've had a nasty shock, who are they going to blame? You, right? Far better to educate them first. So what do? We put together an educational video. When they gave notice, they got an email with the video link in it. By the way, boys and girls, we know we'd love to give you your deposit back. Please watch this video to find out how you can guarantee you get 100% of your deposit back.
You could even do a video when they moved in.
You could.
Because the video is powerful. I mean, look at what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Have you got any other potential solutions? Because I know you deal with an awful lot of letting agents.
Yeah. So for the Cs, it's almost like making a list. Remember we talked about the red lines earlier in the video?
Yes.
These are the things that I'm going to give up over my dead body. But everything else, I can let go. Now, let go doesn't mean I'm going to abdicate it. It means I'm going to have a system or a procedure so that I know somebody else can carry out that task. I think the other thing to remember is if I can take a more holistic view of the world, recognise there's other profiles have different strengths to mine, then I can look at my team and say, how do I deploy my team to best advantage in my market? You know, for example, who do I want doing the videos?
It's interesting because I've got some clients who are quite obviously C-orientated, which means they're task-orientated and they're quite reserved, which means they're not very good at going on video.
Well, let's say they have to work hard at being good on video.
Okay, go on, give you
True?
that. Yes, but what some of my clients do is they get another colleague in the office who's more outward going.
Yes.
To do the videos.
Yes.
But then they feel like they might lose control because they're more controlled. So what I often suggest they do is every once in a while they appear in the video alongside their colleague.
So they don't feel left out. So the one thing if you're a C to beware of is the C's actually have an ego. Right?
Really?
Yeah, now we're used to thinking of the high I being the big I am, you know,
Yes.
the red braces and all this, and these two sort of...
What? This ego, it's almost like an untold need, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's exactly what it is.
Tell me more.
So C's need to know that they're right.
Which is obvious.
Yeah, and they need to be acknowledged for their expertise.
Is that the secret need?
That's the secret need.
They need to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
Say that again.
They need to be acknowledged for their expertise. Right?
Go on.
So this makes me, if I'm a C and I'm feeling unacknowledged for my expertise, that's going to make me a little bit needy and unhappy that actually no one recognises that I'm a genius. Because I'm a quiet genius. I'm not allowed...
No, you're not a showman.
No.
Like some people.
Yeah, exactly. Quite. Yeah, so that can compound. See, if I'm a perfectionist and I beat myself up for my perception of what is wrong, even though to everybody else on the planet it looks perfectly good enough.
Yes, because 95% isn't good enough.
Right. So everybody else is happy, but I'm not. I'm beating myself up.
Yeah.
And nobody's acknowledging my genius. Go on. Yeah. So if I'm not careful, I'm just taking myself downward.
Yeah, in decreasing circles.
Right.
And the further you go down, the more you beat yourself up.
Right. And then the harder it is, and the more energy it requires, the more resources from me to break out and grow my business.
So they're almost coming down.
Yes. That is the unspoken danger of this profile.
So how the hell how does someone who is, getting empathy with what you're saying, how do they bring themselves out?
Well, one of the things is your own environment. Now, you've been in my office, haven't you? So you know, my clients don't generally go in my office, so that's why it's the way it is. So a lot of people's offices, the high Ds, bragging, awards and all this stuff, mine is about programming. So all my award photographs, the trophy cabinets, the medals for the long distance cycling, all that stuff is on the walls in my office. So when I go into that space in the morning and I start work, it's already telling me I'm successful. I don't need to tell myself, it's all around me. So I'm making sure my environment is set up for my success. All right, so this is about us programming ourselves. So if I'm a high C letting agent, I might want to have some things in my office, on the wall and elsewhere that reflect my genius. Qualifications I've achieved, trainings that I've completed and got certified on, any legislation that I've complied with, any ALA qualifications I have. All that stuff needs to be there because it reinforces my expertise.
Fascinating.
All right?
Fascinating. What else?
Some of it is sometimes, mate, you need to just relax and go and have a beer. Right? Because they take themselves too seriously.
You do business coaching? Well, I know because you're my business coach. The advantage of having, the problem is that you can't give these fears away to your nearest and dearest because they're almost too close to the coalface, aren't they?
Yeah, you can, but then there's the question what benefit it brings you. So one of the challenges for business owners generally, and this isn't just letting agents, is you can't really take it home. Because all you're doing then is transferring the worry to your spouse. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're bringing it home, and that sometimes isn't a good thing, yeah? So you're on your own in a way, and they say that loneliness is the epidemic among chief executives of whatever size company.
Well, running your own business, it's a lonely game, isn't it?
Yeah. People don't like to admit it, but in the surveys I've seen, certainly of big companies, all the CEOs will tell you it's a lonely game.
I think the biggest thing I've learned is self-awareness of where your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And then once you've realised where you are good and bad, you need to be accountable to a third party, which is not necessarily your partner.
Yeah.
And that could be a business coach, or it could be someone that you look up to that doesn't have a direct relationship. It can't be an employee because they're beholden to you for their mortgage.
Yeah.
I think that's the advantage of a business coach, is that you make someone accountable to someone else.
Yeah, we do. And it's interesting because as the pace of change accelerates, we're finding more things out about the models that work in terms of how our brains work and how the culture around it works. And one of the challenges with a mentoring approach, which typically a mentor, and I'm talking the average mentor, not the really great ones, is their model is do what I do. Yeah?
Yes.
And I'm getting feedback saying, I talked to so-and-so and we decided to come to you. And it's like, okay, and why was that? Oh, well, and it turns out what it is they looked at that other person's business and decided that their way of doing something was not the way that they wanted to be. So the flavour from that person didn't.
Because there's lots of gurus out there at the moment, isn't there?
Right. So the thing about being a coach is trying to bring the best out of that person.
Out of the person, not copying, this is how I do it.
Right. Exactly right. And that's what Lightning is a significant difference.
Would you say that's the difference between mentoring and coaching? Is that mentoring is copy me, do it this way?
Well, I'd like to think there's some good mentors out there that understand the principles behind business. And because they're experienced at applying principles, then their approach is timeless.
So what you're almost saying is, it isn't a case of copy me.
No.
It's a case of I did this because of this, the how, the whys, and the whats,
Yes.
as opposed to just copy me.
Yeah.
What you feel more coaching is more along the lines of, well, it doesn't really matter what bloody business you're in. It's all should swear, sorry. Is look at the person, look at their strengths, look at their weaknesses, and it doesn't really matter what business you're in.
No.
If you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you know, I think a lot of letting agents are a letting agent in business when really they should be a business person in lettings.
Yes, that's exactly true. Be a business person in lettings.
And it will work for you.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with the guys at home on this? We've got a few more minutes left.
Yeah, so a lot of people think, what's the profile to be most successful? Do you know, it doesn't matter.
Because you are who you are.
You are who you are. There's plenty of, in fact, one of the world's richest men, Warren Buffett. Do you think he's got a lot of C in his profile?
Well, do you know, I don't know.
Okay, so let's talk about Warren Buffett. I think the last report I heard said if Berkshire Hathaway had achieved a compound annual growth rate of 25%, and we're talking every year since 1965. You can imagine what your money would be worth. Billions. Yeah?
Yep.
$1 share in Berkshire Hathaway, I only checked a few years ago, I don't know what it'd be now, but it was over $200,000, I think. So it's grown in value by 200,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty serious. Buffett is an analyzer, right? He wants to know what's it worth. And he does by analysis. He doesn't run those companies, he analyses them. Yeah, he's looking for the value gap.
Do you think, but he's very public with it. Do you think that's he's fulfilling his secret need by telling people what he does?
Yeah.
That means people look up to him.
And he has a business partner, Charlie Munger.
Okay. Again, don't know.
Warren talks about Charlie having the best 10-second brain on the planet.
So he must be is he a faster than...
I don't know Charlie Munger myself. Obviously, I've never met Warren Buffett either. I've just read about Warren, and there's more about Warren than there is of Charlie. But what's interesting is how Warren describes his business partner. This 10-second brain is what Charlie is doing, is providing Warren with an analysis within 10 seconds. And he says Charlie reads businesses so well. So what Charlie's doing is for the high C Warren, he's providing that insurance policy that here I've got this guy with this fantastic brain who goes and looks at a business and within 10 seconds goes, yes, we should invest, or no, we shouldn't. Just like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah? And that's part of the magic of Berkshire Hathaway. Now, from a systemizing perspective, you can't systemize that. That's totally idiosyncratic. Right? So that what they're going to do when those two gentlemen die, I don't know.
Okay, I mean, most estate agents, as I said, tend to be here. Is that why most estate agents don't tend to run good letting agents?
Yeah, an estate agent would not have the patience for a lettings agency. It would be too boring. There would be too much detail to comply with. An estate agent would feel like they were a fish out of water.
Because my impression of these people in this sort of box is that they like to be in control and they don't like the wool being pulled over their eyes.
Yeah, the D's definitely. Yeah, they want to be the big man, they want to be the I am.
Whilst the I's, they're very people orientated and outgoing, so they don't like people to think ill of them.
Yes, that's true.
Are you saying you can be successful in
any box?
Any box.
Yeah.
It's all about self-awareness of what you're good at and what you're bad at, and then being accountable to fill the gaps, which either means being accountable to yourself or to somebody else, which could be a coach or a mentor or whoever's best for you.
I think I'd almost say it simpler than that. I don't want to be seen as a sort of promo for coaching.
No.
But if you look at it,
but mate, you've transformed my business.
Yeah.
I've grown my turnover by 450% and my profitability by 700% by you making me accountable to myself.
Thank you, Christopher. I'm going to add this anyway, right?
Yes, because we're running out of time now.
So, if whichever profile you are,
is there a quick way to find out what profile you are?
Yeah, I could ask you probably 2 questions.
Go on then.
Okay, so if you had to choose between task focus and people focus, what would you choose?
I'd choose Choose people.
Choose people. Can't remember what this one is now. This would be, you could ask them, are you...
Outgoing or reserved?
You could do that, but that's not really the vertical axis here.
It kind of works though. Introvert, extrovert?
No, because that's more this way. Extroversion is more people and introversion is more thinking about things. There is a question on this side. I'll have to come back to it in another video. This is more a concentration on getting things, all my facts correct and things like that. This is the steadiness is this patient. So yeah, I'd have to think about that. So this is the fast, this is the slow, that's definitely true. Yeah, let me come back to you on that one, Chris. But what I want to get to, is compliment yourself with people who are not like you. Right? A number of letting agents I've been to where all the people are clustered around this quadrant, and actually only some of the people need to have a high detail orientation. What about your valuers? What about your negs? Those people will probably need to have different profiles to you. Yeah? And also, you're not just a one-box personality. You will have some D in you, some I in you, some S in you. What versatility do you need to have so that depending on the situation, you can lead with a different strength?
Yes, because I'm up here, but when I write my articles, I have to jump in here.
Yeah, because you want to get the detail correct.
Because I have to, but I tell you what, I soon love going back
Yeah,
there.
so how many, out of a 40-hour week, how many hours are you out of flow?
4 or 5.
Right, so 10%.
Yeah.
Right, there you go.
Then back again.
Yes. So if you're a C and you need to D up, or you need to be the party and go networking, make sure it's no more than 10% because otherwise you're not going to feel good doing it.
And just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Good stuff. Maybe in another video we could expand a bit more and go into a lot more detail on this.
And I'll make sure I remember what the up and down is at the bottom.
Cheers mate, thanks
Cheers.
very much.
Cheers,
Thanks
Chris.
guys, cheers.